Trollord Games. Join the fray.
December 9th, 2020. I feel like I was just saying it's like November 9th, like 30 days ago. It is now December 9th, 2025. I am Steve Chenault. This is Ask Me Anything. This is our Tuesday show where we ramble on about, we used to really ramble, but Chuck's kind of gotten us structured now. So we got a little bit more structure to our rambling. But this is the day that you guys can ask me anything about what TLG is doing, has done, is going to do, blah, 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 Kickstarters, back kit campaigns, where we are on stuff. We will do updates on crowdfunding campaigns at the top of the hour. So I think we only got 2 open, 3 open. I don't know what's going on anymore. Yeah. So any questions you have, throw them out here. Is Davis going to be on today to make a bunch of noise? No, Davis's strange setup. I didn't talk much to Davis. I know he's working on engineering boats. I think he's working now. His engineering boats is what he is hammering on.
Boats?
I believe so. Engineering ships.
That sounds better. It's a little better.
It's probably ships. Yeah, a rowboat. Engineering a rowboat.
I don't know.
78 pages of a John boat.
Oh my God, that's hilarious. Let's see.
So he's got his head dug into that.
Oh, interesting.
John fishing. Yeah, that's right, Manfred.
Let's
Canoes that get set on fire. His famous woodchuck canoe.
Question for about the Exaltum book. Did any of your players try to, or even succeed in combating a Rune Lord to get to the Void?
So they didn't. They did. They combated it, but it became a whole role-playing session. They didn't actually fight the Rune Lord. It became this gigantic role-playing thing where they convinced their way through the Void, through the Wall of Worlds, and into the Void. It did not come to blows. It was a pretty cool session. That was a long time ago, because that would have been like 1996 or somewhere around in there, when they were just at the very beginning of the Winter Dark Wars at our campaign table. For those of you who don't know, our World of Air, the Codex of Air, is based on a campaign that I ran from 1985 through to about 2006. Something like that.
Let's see. Jacob Ream asks, why do the Reforged books have a small font for the game title instead of the iconic logo font?
So Tom Tullis designed that for us, and we were watching. The main reason that you go...
So basically the redo of the trade dress, yeah?
Yeah, so the main reason that you want this type of trade dress with a big visible logo on the top, and this one, interestingly enough, I picked out kind of the worst. They were normally white or orange, is so that when you put them in retail stores, I had one on my desk, and they put them in their shelves, it's like that, and then you can see it. So you want your logos at the top. That's kind of how that kind of evolved. But we've watched a complete flip in the industry from, it literally, the funniest stat, now it's changed a little bit for us, but for the longest time, in the beginning, the stat was about 3% of our sales was direct and 97% was through distribution. By 2012, 15, that had completely flipped. It was about 1% distribution and the rest was direct. Now it's mitigated a little bit. Some of that's changed a little bit back as we've gotten a little bit more aggressive with distribution. But what that tells you is that the vast majority of, for us anyways, and I know a lot of second tier companies, direct is where it's going. So I told Tom, I said, I don't think we really need this giant logo on the front. And Thomas came up with the new design, the ribbon, as we call it, that has Castles and Crusades just kind of, in there. I like it. I actually really, really liked it when Tom came. Now we've been using it for several years now, 3 or 4 years now, 2, 3, whatever.
We had it on there before Reforged, actually.
I believe, yeah, that's what I was thinking. It popped before
ninth printing.
Okay. Yeah. That sounds about right. So it's been on there for a while, 3, 4 years, give around in there. And I'm not a huge fan of trade dress changes, but it's been on my mind to kind of go back to something that's a little bit more visible. And what I'd kind of like to do, and this is kind of what I don't even know how you would affect this, so many people say D&D now, and everybody knows what it is, and that's been the way. It's been that way for what, 25 years, 30 years, or something, if not longer.
Mhm.
But they don't say CNC as prevalently. So I'd kind of like to develop some kind of logo that's based around CNC. But that's just as far as that's gone. I haven't formulated that to any of the crew before today. So for today on this stream. But that's where my thought process has been lately. But that's the reason we went to the ribbon.
Uh, let's see. KevCon has another question about Exalted Book. If the Rune Lords are lawful creatures created by lawful Corthane, why are they chaos beasts in combat?
So yeah, well, welcome to the world of Corthane. So Corthane is he's like I really almost abandoned the disposition / alignment system for the Codex of Air entirely. I was a huge fan of alignment for many, many, many years, but Davis, after many, many arguments, kind of convinced me that alignment doesn't really fit. So I assigned Corthane the closest thing that could, that fits, and law is definitely it. Law is 100% it, and he is good. He doesn't. He's good, so long as you're within the law. So like Judge Dredd is good. So long as you're in the law, you're good.
I am the law.
Yeah, but when you step out of the law with good old Judge Dredd, he executes you or fills you full of dope and throws you off a building or whatever. That movie was fantastic. I got to tell you, that movie was fucking. It was just absolutely fantastic. One of the best comic book adaptations ever made. But anyway, sidetracking. So the creatures, the Rune Lords themselves, become this kind of offshoot of really the power that is Corthane, and there's a power in chaos that law doesn't have. So that's why those creatures take on these forms that are just what he's referencing to. You can meet the Rune Lord in its true form, which is, well, that's debatable, but in this it's humanoid form. But in combat, they can take on any kind of shape that they desire. So the shape is a reflection of the strength of chaos, but it's also a reflection of they will take on whatever shape that they deem necessary to fight the creature in front of them. Does that make sense? Some creatures are going to be keeping in mind that it's not just dwarves and elves and humans trying to cross the void. It's all kinds of monsters, gods, demigods, creatures that are trying to get across the void, or the wall of worlds, I should say, to the void, or the other way. So these creatures, so the Rune Lords take on whatever shape they deem is necessary.
I don't think I want to fight those Rune Lords, honestly.
Yeah. They're kind of jackasses.
Nothing to do with it. Jackasses. All right, next question is, from Kothar. Here's his weekly important question for you. Would you rather fight a chimpanzee or 20 raccoons?
Raccoons?
Raccoons.
I'm probably going to go with the raccoons because I might be able to kick them off of me, but because the chimpanzee
it gets a hold of you, you're pretty much hurting, right?
You're done. It's got fangs, and it's going to be stronger than me by a long stretch of the imagination.
Let's see. All right. This is from a Billiard 996. Someone on the forum brought up Barzoom. Is that getting close?
This summer. We will launch that Kickstarter this summer. That is the backer kit campaign. That is the plan.
Yeah. Let's see. This is from Jacob Ream over on Facebook. Have you noticed Dr. Pepper being flat in every can, bottle, and fountain for months at a time? Has that happened to you?
No, but I have noticed, and it's very tiny. I don't drink fountain Dr. Pepper, and I don't drink Dr. Pepper out of a plastic bottle ever. I will take water, or if there's like Dr. Pepper in a bottle and Coke in a bottle, I'll get the Coke every time. In a plastic bottle. A glass bottle, I'll drink it. In the can, I have noticed, but it's still very tiny. There's been quite a few flat ones, which is interesting because this is another thing. I'm not sure. It's certainly the sign of the end of times, without a doubt. That is the first sign of the apocalypse.
Oh, right.
Dr. Pepper does not make proper Dr. Pepper.
I went over to my mother-in-law's while I go to eat and come back, and she was walking around the house, was carrying a big old box, and I said, Jen, what have you got there? And she says, oh, they had Dr. Pepper, some 2 liters for $1. I got 10 of them. I was like, oh, bless. 10 of them. So she could save $10 or whatever, because she won't drink. That'll probably do her the rest of 2026, probably, my guess.
That's a lot of Dr. Pepper. I don't like it. I don't like it on on ice. I don't, because I don't know. I just don't care for it. Anyways, what's the next question?
Let's see. Oh, any updates? This is from MJ Cook 78. Any updates on the Gourd books?
We've got those. I need to get with Luke. No, there's no updates on that. I haven't talked to Luke in about those in a while. I still got to get some paperwork together for everybody, but those are in the pipe. And it really is just Luke and I sitting down and figuring out what, when, and where. Our focus right now, of course, is zagging and getting the GFW stuff done. I wouldn't be surprised if it was somehow tied to the second Castle Zaggy crowdfunding campaign. It needs to be expert. I agree. Dr. Pepper on its own.
Let's see. Well, I was just telling Cynthia. He said he drinks it in Scotch. I drink it. I drink wild turkey with mine all the time. I love it. But
That's
anyway,
crazy.
that's good stuff. If you're gonna drink alcohol, you gotta have Dr. Pepper, man. Come on. Anyway, Coop Waffles asks, got a couple questions. One is, are the warehouse finds leather-bound rule books reforged editions?
Yes. Yeah, there's only like 7 or 6 of them left. I'm not sure there's not many left, but yes, those are for sure.
Yep. They're all latest prints. Let's see. The second question from him is, when is issue number 30 available for purchase?
We're hoping Friday. Maybe tomorrow, but very unlikely. Probably Friday. Yeah, Chuck looks very skeptical. We will have Dwarf and Trace ready tomorrow. So that'll be rolling out, but probably Friday is my guess.
Yeah, we're going to have 2 releases this week and then another one next week.
And then we're going to take a break for a week or so.
We're going to take a break. Hey, it's good times, man. Good times. Let's see. Scorpio 33, can you please add the Haunted Highlands map pack to drive-thru for sale? I know you need to update for Reforged, but your stuff on drive-thru is mostly legacy content. Need the map pack, please. All right.
Oh.
I will check into that tomorrow, Hank. I'll see what I can do for you, buddy. I've got that saved here. Potentially, I see no problems with that until tomorrow.
It shouldn't be. Yeah. Wait till you look at it. I'm sure something will crop up.
Probably. KevCon1 asks, would you ever do novels or journals of your adventures from the 90s, etc., that helped build Aired? Take the tales of the table. Oh my God, let's do it.
I think that the adventure, I'd have to just sit down with everybody involved, because Mac kept copious notes for a while, and Todd's got an exceedingly good memory for the games. I think it would be badass to write out the Winterdark Wars, and you can see so if you go into the Codex of Aird and read the appendix, I think it's in the appendix now, the Winterdark Wars appendix, it's like 20 pages. And year by year, you can see what happened during the wars. And that's actually our games. Those are the games that ended the Winterdark. Now, there was a whole bunch of games before the Winterdark, a huge number of games, because we started in like 85 or 86, and we ran it until I joined the Army in 91. And that's when the world ends and Unglar comes in. So there's like 5 years of games before that, and then another 11 or 12 years of games after that. I think the Winterdark Wars would be very, very cool, because it's filled with everything that you can imagine that role-playing games are filled with. Not only is it adventures that go from point A to point B, and monsters that you fight, and treasures that you unearth, there's romance involved, there's marriages involved, there's children born, there's children slain, it's just the whole kind of tapestry of events that happens in an epic game like that. That's what we did. We did everything.
That's what I want to ask you about it. I mean, honestly, you know as well as I do, if you approach the Codex of Aird and you look at the Winterdark Wars, which is just a small part of it, right? Just a small part of the history.
For sure, yeah.
Right? But I just want to know, you guys actually played through that, obviously, because it was developed on your table. But I mean, how involved was the group as a whole? Did they have, alliances and kingdoms of their own and families? And I mean, how embedded was the group in the game? Like my guys over here, we used to do that growing up. But in the last 10, 15 years, they haven't even showed any interest in having like followers or that. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just wondering.
So pre-Winterdark, Luther. So this is kind of cool the way this unfolded. So this is gonna be like 1985 or 1986, something like that. Todd Gray is playing Luther the Paladin. He's 2nd level. Now you've got to understand the way I was running games in those days. Experience, we would run for about a year before you gained a level, and we played 2 and 3 times a week 4 or 5 hours at a session, and on the weekends, sometimes even longer. So they were long sessions, little experience points. So there's mountains of game content, as they slowly go over, evolve over time. But at some point at second level, we've already done a lot of adventures. Todd gets the deck of many things, and Todd's card that he pulls is you become a barony. Well, I didn't ever play the deck of many things like suddenly you're a baron. What happens is Todd's like, well, whatever, blah blah blah, and 2 or 3 sessions later, Todd discovers through his, I'd have to ask him. He discovers through his father, who has just died, that his father held a titular barony of Istal, which is, if you look at your Greyhawk map, is a city in the southern part of Keelland. And Todd becomes the Baron of Istal, and that launches this whole series of political adventures based around his barony, him fighting this, doing that, political intrigue. He gets married to Vivian, I think her name is, and then he becomes I think maybe he got the county from Vivian. I can't remember how he got the county, but then he becomes the Count of Pendegrance. So he's the Baron of Istal, the Count of Pendegrance, and then later there's a civil war in Keelan, and Todd overthrows the kingdom and becomes the king of Keelan. So when the Winterdark Wars begin, Todd Luther is actually the king of Keelan. Now this is where the whole mesh. I'd already begun changing Greyhawk a lot with the way I was kind of maneuvering stuff through magic and gods and all of that stuff. So when I joined the army, we didn't know. I joined up during the first Gulf War. We didn't know what was going to happen. I had an airborne slot, so I was going to airborne school. So we assumed I would be attached to the 82nd Airborne Division, maybe the 101st Air Mobile, and then go to Iraq. And everyone back in 91 was assuming that this was going to be a 2 or 3 year war. So we figured that I'm gone, game's over. We just didn't know. Now it certainly did not turn out to be a 3-year war. And I ended up in Hawaii, stationed in Hawaii, doing a whole lot of nothing. We were in the field. I worked really hard, but otherwise I clocked in about 8 in the morning and I was done at about 10, something like that. I got all my paperwork done. So I sat around reading. And then after like 6 or 7 months, I started writing, because when we knew that I was going to the army, I ended the game. We sat down, all of us sat down. Now, Todd missed the meeting. We sat down, all the players sat down and said, do we want to end this in case I get killed in Iraq? Do we want to end it at a point that the game is done? Or do we want to kind of suspend it? And everyone voted to end it, but Todd wasn't there. He's pissed off about that to this day.
Oh my God, really?
Yeah,
I'll have to remember that. That's a good one.
Yeah,
that's a good one.
Fucking funny. So we ended the game. I can't remember what happened to all the characters, but they all end up wherever they end up. But when I'm in the army in Hawaii, I start writing the history of. I wrote a novel, and then I took that novel and became the basis for Aired. Greyhawk is kind of the underlying current. You can see a lot of Greyhawk influences, obviously, everywhere through the world of Aired, or through the lens of Ursula, I should say. And then I spent, and I've got them. I would write a 5 or 6 page letter to Mac, Charlie, Todd, and later Chris, and then I'd make a copy of it. I'd write a copy of this letter, so I would have a copy. Then they would write me back. So we sort of played by mail, back in the early 90s. And then when I got back, we kicked it off right after. It's 1,000 years later. The world is completely changed. It's the world of Aired now. I've mapped things out. I've created my own thing. Blah 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 blah. And then the Winterdark Wars begin with them going into that. Now through the Winterdark Wars, which is 21 years in game time, and it's 11 years in human time, or whatever the fuck it is, from 2003 to 2006. So 13 years of games that are the Winterdark Wars. So it's almost year for year. And in that span of time, Todd becomes king of Keelan, or Kaomar, and king of Palatine King later. And Mac creates the Mystic Enclave, and then Mark creates this. Mark was huge into Dune at the time, so he created this whole breeding program to create super human. It was really interesting.
What is this stuff?
Yeah.
I hadn't heard of this.
Yeah, the whole Prismaris, so the Empress of New Aonok. This is pretty cool stuff. The Empress of Aonok is Jaren Falkenjaeger's daughter. And at the table, I can't remember who the wife was. He married someone, but his whole purpose was to create bloodlines of powerful magic-using creatures as a bulwark against Unklar's empire, against all of this stuff. So that was this whole huge side thing going
Can I ask a
on.
question? How in the fuck do you remember all of this? My God, man.
It's
That's
because
insane.
we played so much, and I had to keep copious notes because once they hit like 12th level and somewhat, and the politics are really built.
Oh, yeah, I bet so. I bet you better damn well keep notes. I hadn't thought about that.
And then Mac, of course, is keeping notes and would call me on stuff. And
sure.
And Chris Harris, he joined Post Army, and he dove into the politics like no one else's business. He played Doggone the Dwarf. So it became this giant, I don't know, it's pretty well. I think they would, to answer the question, that was Chuck's question, but I would absolutely love to turn these things into novels. And, I've been doing a lot of writing lately. The crew here at TLG has given me mountains of time and space. I've written, 4 of these or 3 of these expansion books. I should have them done by late January. And then it's on to Alfstrag and the fiction. That's really where I'd like to land it.
I think Kev kind of made a good suggestion about an actual history book on Air, TLG, the games, everything.
That would be very, very cool. I've started that on the Troll Wiki page, and my intent was to go in there and just add to it over time. I hadn't added anything in 6 months.
You need to write a book on it. Is what you need to do.
Yeah, it's a lot of interesting, weird.
It's craziness. I didn't know about the bloodlines and all that shit. That's freaking.
Oh yeah,
awesome.
dude! It was so crazy. I mean, it was very, very interesting. There was a whole period where Dolgon the Dwarf, Aristobulus the Mage, and Agmar the Eldritch Goblin traveled together for many, many games. So they're with this evil goblin that is helping them overthrow Alfstrag. It was just all very cool, wild, wild stuff. Lots of just mess. I don't know, it's crazy.
Huh. Well, I mean, I don't. Did you do? I know I'm kind of taking over the stream, but I'm curious about something. That's one of the things I haven't really done with these guys in our current last couple campaigns, because we've been playing our whole lives, right? And I want to reintroduce them into more of the political structure and that kind of stuff. Man, you must have some sort of a way. How do you keep track of like all that? Is there like a trick to that, or? So, because you're talking about alliances and marriages and that kind of stuff, it gets kind of
it starts getting. I guess part of it, I can keep up with some of it because I have such a fascination for history, and I've read so much history. I was working on my PhD in history when we started this thing, so I'm kind of enmeshed, I guess, brainwave. But also, I always recommend if you want to get a good grasp of feudalism. Now they're dense reads, and it's Ferdinand Braudel, I believe his name is. It's 2 books called Feudalism, written in the 1970s, I think, and maybe 60s. And they're ridiculously, it's not Ferdinand Braudel, it's someone else. I don't know, I have to go look at it on my shelves. But so when you read these books, these histories of feudalism, that really go into the real nature of feudalism and manorialism, and not just kind of the skin that we get in college and whatnot. It is an insanely, ridiculously complicated system of alliances and loyalties and oaths and marriages and all this other stuff. And so when we began to play this, I started to really build the feudal system into the game itself. And it helped immensely that Chris really, really got into it. I mean, Matt got into it a little bit, Todd got into it a little bit, but Chris really got into it. So when you've got a player that's helping you kind of foster, and Mark did too, Mark Sandy, kind of foster all of this stuff, it helps a lot. But it's a lot of notes. If you look at, I've got 2 notebooks, one's the gray and one's the red. And the gray notebook's, it's either a 3 or 4 inch binder, and it's filled with fucking notes. It's absolutely filled with.
That's interesting.
And there's a year by year history for about 3 sections of it that I wrote. And if I took those and cross-referenced with Mac, because Mac's notes are wild, because they're just, starting in a notebook, and then you run it and start doing it in the margins, and Mac's notes are fucking wild, because they're all over the place, wherever you can write it down.
So Mark Block, Feudal Society, volume 1 and 2, is that it?
Yes.
That does look dense.
I caution anyone to pick up those books. When you pick them up, it is.
It looks like college. That's what it looks like.
Yeah, I mean, it is crazy, but it will give you the best. Once you walk away from that 600 pages or whatever the fuck it is, once you walk away, you'll have a good understanding of feudalism, because he's just explained it in this ludicrously. It's just good stuff. I got something funny for you here.
All right.
Did you see Jeremy's comment? Thank you for recommending the most boring inspection of all time.
What does he know? So Google AI has given me 3 suggestions for very popular feudal setting books. Would you care to guess what the top 3 are?
I would not know.
One you're gonna lose your fucking mind over, but
it's Lamort the author. Sure, it's gonna say Game of Thrones, and I'm gonna lose my mind. Is it?
It's the first one is by James Clavell, Shogun, which we can agree is pretty good. The novels.
I've never read the book, but the TV show was fantastic.
Oh yeah, the novel's very good. I've read it. Mm-hmm. The Name of the Rose by Umberto Eco.
100%.
Yeah, I've read that in college actually. And then the last one, A Song of Ice and Fire.
No, and again, no. Manfred, right there. Manfred's 100% right. If you want a good fantasy version of feudalism, what is it? It's Camber of Coldai. What are those books, Manfred? There's like 6 of them by Catherine Kurtz. They're slow. They're not Howard fantasy. I want to say that at the beginning, but the Catherine Kurtz, I can't remember what that series is called. Really good feudal fantasy system with magic kind of woven into it. That too will give you a more enjoyable. I would not, I've read Fire and Ice. I didn't see any real feudalism in there at all. I mean, it's that blanket that we get. There's the king, and then there's the
there's a castle over here.
And
some
the duke
peasants
must swear to the king, and that's not in any way, shape, or form the way that unfolded. I mean, just go watch the movie Lion of the Winter. You'll get a good idea of it. You have lords that own land that owe loyalty to 2 different dukes or whatever. I mean, it's this insanely complicated system. And the reason the heraldry was developed was to somehow create some semblance of sanity so people would know, okay, this is Bob.
This is Bob.
Chuck owes loyalty to Bob, but he also has 12 acres that Davis gave him. So he owes 2 parcels of wood to Chuck. It's just crazy.
Kothar says, I want a fantasy novel where the main character works his lord's land for 15 years and dies at the age of 24. Did you read Cynther's, I can imagine on X Now, hey, Grok, what did sibling sex have to do with feudalism?
Yeah, right. Yeah, I mean, that, and the Fire and Ice is a perfect example of someone who just assumes that there was a king and 5 dukes and 12 counts and 15 barons and 400 knights. And that's feudalism. And that's not it at all. That's not even, when you look at, I can't remember, it's been so long since I've looked at it, but Henry owed, the King of England owed feudal homage to the King of France for the Duchy of Normandy. So Normandy was given to and it's actually through the Angevins. It's actually through Anjou and Maine and not through England at all. So it's this horribly fucking complicated of mess. And the heralds,
they give it back to them. Just leave us alone. Take it.
The heralds must have had IQs through the fucking roof.
They had to. I don't know how they did all that shit without a fucking phone. I don't know.
This is fucking crazy.
All right, so let's go. Let's do that. Let's do some updates, shall we? Time for some updates.
Oh yeah, whatever. Oh yeah. Oh, it's top of the hour. Did you see Jeremy? Doc, I'm going to keep it whatever's with you. I'm nodding in my seat. Feudalism is fascinating, but it is some wild shit. Very cool, very cool.
I do have some questions too for the updates, and just each time you go through a day, I'll ask them. I'll ask them off here after each one.
I think we've only got 3. I think this is where we are. I think we've got Exaltum and Infernum have shipped. Now we've got a few people who paid shipping late, so those will go in the next few days. But that Kickstarter's done. For the Adventurer's Backpack Kickstarter, I'm done. It's going to the printer in the morning. I
saw something. Someone sent me a message somewhere, and I tried for hours today to find it about the sneak attack and the pacer, but I don't know what. I can't find it now.
I know exactly what it is. It's the sneak attack. The sneak attack is built off of the Ranger's sneak attack.
Yes, and I could not find. I couldn't remember. I was like, "Fuck!" I was like, Because I knew he was done with it,
No,
right?
it's the hide. It's the hide. And move silently. Move silently.
I don't
and
know.
the pacer doesn't allow you to move silently indoors because it's built off of the Rangers.
Oh, okay.
And the
Well,
reason it's that way
somebody
is we
said
don't-
something about sneak attack, but I could not find
that
it.
I don't know. We don't want it to infringe upon the rogue or the thief. So
No, we don't.
So the Adventures Backpack goes to the print in the morning, and the companion book will go to Peter Bradley for layout in the morning. It's not going to take him very long. And there's a third book in that I can't remember it offhand, but that's a smaller book on that. So those things should start. Oh, it's the Rune Lore book. So the Rune Lore book is really me just bringing the old book, and we're going to have to. It's already been reforged, so it doesn't really need a lot to it. Just edited, clean, new art, the whole 9 yards. And that's so Adventures Backpack. By the time we get the Adventures Backpack back from the printers in early January, the other two books will be done, and that will start shipping almost immediately in January. The two biggest projects that are just monstrously huge, the Gygaxian Fantasy Worlds. Pantheons got it finished, edited today or yesterday. It goes to layout. He's laying out Guilds and Orders. We got the new cover for Guilds and Orders. I'm guessing in about 4 to 5 weeks, all 10 of those books will be done, and we'll be able to send those to the printers. That is my guess in early January. About the same time that the Adventures Backpack arrives, the GFW stuff should be going to the printers. I'm pretty confident of that. We've got 6 of them done, I think, and then the other 4 are mostly done or prepped for layout. Then the last one is Castle Zagging. I had a good email from Mike Stewart. He's almost done with all the levels. We got to go back in and kind of make sure everything's lined up the way Gary wanted it to and the way we want to present it. And then those maps are done, so that's really good. Yigsburg is in layout. What's the next one? Ruins is on Jeremy's desk. He's got to go back over Dan's notes. I don't know if it's all on Jeremy's desk, but a good chunk of it is. And then, of course, the dungeons, Michael turned that over to us probably in early January. So those things are on target. We should have the cover for the book 2 Ruins done this week. And then Jason will wrap up the new cover for book 5 of GFW. I feel like I feel like that guy in Always Sunny in Philadelphia with the diagrams all over the place.
Right.
So swirling that all around. And in the midst of that, so hopefully by February, late February, those guys are rolling to the printers about the time we launch the next Kickstarter for the next 2 books, the final 2 books for the Castle Zagging material in the midst of all that. So that is, and then we've got Adventure Spellbook and coming to backer kit on sometime in January, probably January 10th, give or take, something like that.
We did. So that should have covered Lucius Schleschmeyer from YouTube, and also Abiliard 996. They had questions about that. I do have one other question floating out there for a past Kickstarter. The Hermit. Question from Crimson Arrow 72. Did you guys release the Shadow Dark conversion yet? If not, what's the date on it?
Yeah, no, that was released about a year ago. It's Chuck could get that to you. I'm looking at his face. He's clearly forgotten about it.
Yeah, I was waiting for you to look at me and say no, but I don't remember. I don't.
Yeah, no, it's that thing is definitely out.
Just email me.
Enough, I just deleted the emails for that, finalizing that thing.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's kind of funny. I did that yesterday when I was cleaning out.
That's funny. So Crimson, email me directly right there, and I'll get you set up. Yeah, I'll get you taken care of. Let's see. I have some good news and some bad news. My wife has just texted me, so I'll need to get off her in about 10 minutes or so. Real quick, let's see. Let's get back to the questions. I had some extra questions for you too.
Hey, Chuck, I'm going to put while I answer this next question, I put this in the chat.
Okay.
This is what I feel like sometimes talking about DOGs, where we are, and it's mainly because the zagging, the Gygax stuff is so monstrously huge.
No, yeah, that guy's hilarious, man. That's great.
Yeah.
Let's see. Where are my questions at here? Okay, so there was a follow-up from Kothar. 1 chimpanzee or 4 mid-sized dogs? I still think you're going to go with the dogs.
Oh man, dogs! So Todd and I were playing soccer once. I had 2 blue heelers and an Australian Shepherd, and they're very friendly dogs. Well, one of the heelers was meaner than shit, but So Todd and I are kicking the soccer ball back and forth, and he goes in to kick the soccer ball, and Oxy, the shepherd, Australian shepherd, pretty big and heavy, leaped in and bit him, not flesh, but he got his shirt and his belt on the right hand side. Now, Oxy probably weighed 60 pounds. And as she bit, now Todd's a big guy. Todd's not small, right? And he works out the whole 9 yards. Bit him in the side. And as the dog goes forward, the weight of the dog just pulls Todd. And Todd just spins around. And I'm watching from the other side of the yard. And Todd's spinning like this. And then that mean little healer came in from his front and hit him in the side and continued Todd's spin. So Todd did a complete 360, fell on his back and hit the ground. And then the dogs jumped on the soccer ball and tore the soccer ball to pieces. And I thought watching that, oh my sweet God, if those were wolves, we would be dead in about 2 minutes. So I'm not sure. Maybe, I don't know, that would be a tough one. I'd probably go with the dogs because if you can kick them in the snout, you might be able. Chimpanzees are rough. It's a primate. It's smart. It's strong. It's agile. It's got fangs. I mean, chimpanzee's not something to tinker with.
What's Davis's argument against alignment from KevCon?
So his big thing is no. Now, I don't want to put too many words in his mouth. And for Davis, his argument's like 3,000, whatever. His thing is that there's no one that's chaotic evil. There's no one that's lawful good. There's no one that's good. There's no one that's evil. Everybody has moments where you are very good and moments where you are not very good. You probably, I'm sure he would say there is people that are just evil. There's people that are just good. But by and large, the vast swath of creatures that have some kind of self-awareness are not evil nor good. They're just alive. And you react, sometimes you cut someone off in line. Sometimes you don't cut someone off in line. And that in a nutshell, I think that's why he doesn't like it. We never do alignment. When Davis wins the game, no one has an alignment. There's no point. You can put it down. He could give a shit.
All right. Let's see. I've got one more question here about the store. This is from Taco Loco. He asks, are you guys doing any bundles through Humble Bundle or drive-through? Anything like that special for Christmas or anything?
Humble Bundle, there's nothing on the docket for any of the bundles that we know of. Those usually come to me kind of out of the blue.
Yeah.
We work with Frog God on that, though I don't know where they are on those things. Yeah. So I thought we just put a bundle together on. We should do a huge drive-through bundle. We could do that.
No, we need to do that. Okay, so let's switch over to Aired real quick. I'm sorry I'm rushing you along. We're going to talk about what today?
Well, do we have any questions floating out? We could skip the Aired section. Okay, all right. So put that picture up. So this picture is by Zoe Devos. Did you get it up? Yeah. So this picture is by Zoe Devos, and this is one of my favorite kind of episodic moments in the history of Aired. What you're looking at is Argrind Dark-Eyed, the first of the Dwarven kings who ruled in First Home, and Narhite, the god that's in front of him. Now, the gods in Aired come first. The Allfather creates the gods that Valar Kun is. They're really not called gods. They're called Valar Kun. Exceedingly powerful creatures. They're slivers of the Allfather, so they're very, very powerful, especially the named Valar Kun. And Narhite is the one that, if you want to go into the alignment world, is chaotic and evil. So, and he, to his mind, he's not evil. He just likes to fuck things up, right? He finds it quite amusing to do so. And not in this power play type of thing. Like people kind of compare him to Loki, but Loki's always wanting power. Narhite has no interest in anything like that. His thing is to just cause chaos. So when he discovers that the dwarves have discovered jewels and gold in the earth when they're starting to mine. Now the dwarves in the world of Aired are their favorite creatures of the Allfather. The Allfather creates and creates and creates until he creates the dwarves, and these are the things he thinks are perfect. So he stops kind of after that. I mean, he doesn't really, but he sort of, I've made the greatest thing I'm ever going to make, and he goes off doing whatever. So there's the Valar Kun on the one hand and the dwarves on the other hand. And the Valar Kun of them all, the most powerful is Orndul. And Orndul he spends most of his time in the dark, and he's created gold and silver and platinum and jewels and all of this other stuff, stones, and he's sprinkling them throughout the earth. So fast forward a gajillion years, whatever, several thousands of years, and the dwarves, when they begin mining, begin discovering this stuff. And Narhite figures out a way to really, really muck with everybody. So he goes to the dwarven king, and he says, "Hey, you need these are Orandul's jewels, and you've really upset Orandul of Valar Kun with these jewels. You're gonna have to do something, pay for them or whatever, give them back to him." And the dwarves, being in their early arrogance and whatnot, they don't really pay any attention to the Valar Kun. The dwarves in Erd don't really worship the gods. They gods exist. There's no denial of them, but they don't build temples to the gods. They only build temples to the Allfather. So Argrind is like, fuck that guy. We're not doing any of this. Get out of my hall. And it scares even Narhite a little bit. So Narhite goes to Orandul and says, "Hey, the dwarves are stealing your stuff, but there's nothing you can really do about it." I forgot a key part of that. Narhite also tells Argrind, he says, "But you don't need to worry about Orandul's power because the you're the favorite of the Allfather, and that he can't really do anything against you. So that's why the dwarves are like, we're not going to pay for anything." So Narhite then goes to Orandul, and of course Orandul could have destroyed the dwarves with very little effort. And so he goes to Orandul and he says, "Hey, the dwarves are stealing your stuff, but you can't really do anything about it because they're the favored by the Allfather, and they have some magical quality that's going to keep you from overcoming it." So Orandul goes to the Dwarven King and says, "Hey, you need to stop this." And then he's tossed down on his ear. He doesn't fight the dwarves because he's afraid to attack them. That fear that Narhite instilled in him, and the courage that Narhite instilled in the dwarves, reacts perfectly to allow the dwarves to chase Orandul out, where normally Orandul would have just slain everyone in the room. So Orandul goes out and he plots what to do, how to punish the dwarves for this without going to open war with them. And what he does is he finds these dwarves that live out in the wilderness, and they're called the unhomed dwarves. And there's 13 kingdoms of dwarves and a 14th realm of dwarves, which are dwarves that never lived in any kingdoms, and they just wander around. They're not gully dwarves or nothing like that. They're noble, powerful, wise dwarves that just live on their own terms out in the wilderness, doing whatever they want to do. Well, Orandul finds these one at a time, and he corrupts them. He takes a little bit of his own evil and he puts them in these dwarves. And corrupts them. And these are the first of the goblins. These become the Eldritch goblins, one of which he corrupts, and this becomes the mother of the goblins. Oglelte is her name. And then the Eldritch goblins, one of them breeds with her, and she begins dropping eggs, and they start creating goblins. And this goes on. The goblins stay hidden for several thousand years. The dwarves have no idea this is going on.
Really?
As they just become huge in population, buried deep in the ground, hidden away. The Eldritch goblins, which were all dwarves, all of the Eldritch goblins at one point was a dwarf. Each one of them has their own story. I've written about 10 or 15 of them, I think, where you can go in and see this is how the Eldritch, this dwarf became this goblin. So several thousand years later, the dwarves are mining and they unearth this strange beast looking like humanoid, the Kavloon they call them. And this is the first of the goblins. And almost immediately they begin fighting in the tunnels where the dwarves are mining as they spill into these goblin caverns. And then the goblin dwarf wars begin. And they last about 600 years, I think, somewhere around in that. And there's so many goblins. And Oglelte continues to breed and create more goblins, that at one point in the wars, the dwarves are conquered. Actually, they're driven from all of the lands of Erd into their kingdoms, and some of their kingdoms are actually sacked and destroyed. And then later the dwarves, when they're all kind of holed up in Norgorod Kham, they discover what's called the Rings of Brass, which are these tunnels that go through the cosmos, and they use these Rings of Brass to send dwarves from one kingdom to another. So they don't go underground through the world of Erd. They go through the cosmos, through these Rings of Brass, so they can get. So of the 13 kingdoms, can't remember how many are still up at this point. I think it's 9. Of the kingdoms that are still up, the dwarves are able to move their armies, and they do so. They build a massive army, overthrow the goblins, and then the goblins are destroyed. And there's this long 60-year battle that finally the king of the goblins, who's steeped in all this magic and whatnot, is strangled to death by the dwarven. He strangles him. He turns his throat to dust because he won't let go of it. That's Ichlun, and then he burns that goblin, puts him in a trunk, and that's actually a huge artifact in the world of Erd. ties into the Winter Dark Wars. Aristobulus got the trunk of Ikalun that is the Goblin King and used that dust against Unclar. It's a whole different tale on that stuff. Really, really cool playing on Matt Golden's part. But in the end, there's a smattering of Dwarven kingdoms left, a smattering of Goblin kingdoms left, and they go to war, and it's called the Wasting War. It's the fourth of the Goblin Dwarf Wars, and the Wasting Wars annihilates both races, both goblins and dwarves. Many of the Eldritch goblins are killed. So you at the end of it, you've only got the 3 realms that are here in the lands of Ursul survive the Wasting Wars. Everything else is destroyed.
Wow.
So the other 9 kingdoms, well, no, 10 kingdoms, right? Yeah, the other 10 kingdoms are abandoned and empty. And if you think of Moria in Tolkien terms, there's 10 of those realms in the world of Air.
So there's and probably people to help you carry the treasure out too, right?
Yeah, I mean, and there's one of the kingdoms that's right about there. It's in the Rhodope Mountains that was destroyed and sacked and burned, and the goblins closed it off so no one could get into it. We did a huge adventure in that. So it would be a great place if you're wanting to do a mountainous underground dungeon, a dwarven hold, that Magdal hold, it's called. So
that'd be cool.
It's one of my favorite epics because it's really Narhite at his best. Because he convinced the Dwarven King that you're invincible, and he convinced Orindul, and the Dwarven King is not invincible by any stretch of the imagination, and he convinced Orindul that he's got a weakness, and because of that, it created. Now, and this Narhite didn't know it would end like this. He didn't know it would end with Orindul destroying all the Dwarven kingdoms through his Eldritch goblins. Right. But he found it quite amusing.
Oh, I'm sure he did. I'm sure. In fact, I was going to make a comment here. Manfred's stirring the pot on Coop. He said, if I recall, Corthane is the tyrant, and Narhite believes in freedom. Yeah, right. So, Coop, you're right. Yeah,
an argument to be made.
Coop, you're right. Narhite is anarchist. He's crazier than the loons. What he is. He's not like Orndul, who's methodical. Narhite is just all over the place.
One of the coolest strands that came out in one of the other games I was running, they ran into this witch named Hild. Now, Hild is the high priestess of Narhite, and I want you to understand what I just said. Hild is the high priestess of Narhite, and her number 1 enemy in all of the cosmos of Air is Narhite.
Right, it makes complete sense.
Constantly fucking with Narhite.
That's hilarious, and he loves it too, I'm sure.
And he loves it. I mean, that's the whole thing.
Yeah. Coop asked a really good question. So goblins are hatched? ? And hobgoblins are from another dimension. What's going on here?
So goblins, so that's very interesting.
That's
it's
really
one of those weird anomalies that happen. I never particularly cared in our RPG that we all play for hobgoblins. I really don't know why. I think the picture in the original Monster Manual.
Were there samurais?
Yeah, I just didn't like it, and so I just never used them. They're never part of it. Davis,
you use them now, by God.
Yeah, well, I love Zoe's rendition of the hobgoblin is badass.
Yeah,
yeah. Davis, on the other hand, absolutely loved the hobgoblin. It was when he was killing my characters, and we were playing so much, I could kill goblins really easy. I could kill orcs really easy, but hobgoblins had a 2-hit dice, so they had a slight angle, right? So Davis used and he must have envisioned them differently. So hobgoblins in the world of Erd. So this is where it gets a little complicated. Erd was flat when the Allfather created it. All right, picture the void, and then there's a maelstrom. And Erd is flat in the beginning. And in Zaya, that was created by the dragon, that's Davis's world, is a cup, and it's built on the bottom side. So if Erd's your plate, I don't have a cup here. In Zaya would be like a coffee cup underneath it. Okay?
Right, coming off
now,
of
later,
it.
Later, Unclar wraps the world around. He takes the flat world of the Allfather's creation and says, no, we're not doing this. And he wraps it into a globe.
Is that how Enzaya became? I see.
That's how Enzaya is trapped within. But there's ruptures. There's ruptures between the world of Enzaya and the world of Air. And one of those is in the Bleached Hills, here in the lands of Ursula, about right there, I think. And the hobgoblins are actually naturally from Enzaya, but through the rings of brass, a small band of them accidentally comes to the world of Air. And they're the one creature in Air that's not created by the Allfather in some capacity. They come from the dragon Inza, which which created the world of Enzaya. A whole different thing.
Right. That's crazy.
Yes, a wolf alone. That's a very good way of putting it. What's really weird about the whole thing, Davis created his world separate from Aird. We were driving to Origins in like 2002 or three or something. I can't remember when. And we were talking about the setting. Aird was doing really well. We were talking about bringing out Inzea. And then he started talking about Inzea as this cup. It's this world that's shaped like a cup, and the sun is here. I'd have to get Davis in here the whole, but he has a whole mythology about it's just cup shaped. And then we got to talking about I had the language of creation and he had the language of destruction. And there's a little bit more positive on Aird and a little bit more negative on Inzea. And it just became this, over the next 8 hours, we wove this mythology together and just merged the two beautifully together. And it's trapped because of Unklar. And there's a place it's called the Four Corners in the world of Aird, where Unklar used his magic to keep all four corners of the land put together. And presumably the legend is, if you can release that magic from the four corners, Aird will open up and go back to being its flat world.
All right, and that's funny. The last question for the evening, because I need to cut it short tonight. Let's see. This is from Jacob Zumbrin 3205 on YouTube. So the Ring of Brass are like stargates or transporter pads?
So the best way to what the rings of brass actually are, when the Allfather created the first tree, the Aratot, it's this ginormous tree. He dreamed it and he needed shade is what he wanted. So he created this tree. Now it didn't really work the way he wanted it to. It's one of his failed creations. Not until Mordias comes over and coaxes leaves out of the tree does this tree become what the Allfather wanted. But so in the real world, as an Aird picture, a tree is really just itself above the ground and in the air. A tree sees the world very differently than we do, right? A tree it gets nutrients from the sky as its branches go up and around, and it gets nutrients from the ground as its branches go under its roots. We call them go underneath. So a tree, if you pull it out in itself, has got this shit all over, right? These branches, whatever you want to call them. So the Aratot, as it grows, because it's created by the Allfather, and it is so ridiculously laced with his power, that the branches continue to grow up and into the void, but the roots continue to carve their way. Remember, the world's flat. The roots begin to carve their way out of the world, and the first thing that they run into is the world of Inzea. So the rings of brass are actually these roots. Now, way back in the early dawn of time, the Allfather, after the trees were made, the Allfather really didn't know what he wanted to do life-wise, monsters, animals, and whatnot. But he discovered Inzea the dragon. He talks with Inzea, and they do a trade. He gives her trees. He gives her trees and dwarves, I think, and then she gave dragons and something else. I can't remember what it was. But this tribe of dwarves that are in Inzea, all they want to do, and they're called the Trojan, all they want to do is get back to Aird, because Inzea is a fucking horrible place. So they discover these roots of the Aratot, the tree, and they begin to hollow out the roots, creating tunnels. So each of these roots, not all of them, but most of the roots of the Aratot are tunneled out, carved out. And the dwarves wrote, because they were very special in who they were. They wrote the language of destruction and the language of creation on the insides of these roots. So when you go into the rings of brass, the brass is actually a portal. When you step through, then you're in the tunnels. And once you go into these tunnels, there's runes over all of them, an infinite amount of runes, which is the language of creation, the language of destruction. So presumably, if you're smart enough, you could go there and spend eternity studying these things, and you could learn the language of creation and become a god and do what the Allfather did. That's part of the thing. But the rings of brass are actually the hollowed out roots of the Aratot, and they go everywhere. They don't only go to Inzea. They go to Asgard. They go to the elemental planes. They go all over the place. Yes, Manfred.
Manfred's got it right.
That's awesome.
Oh my goodness.
They are the tubes from the Mario games. There you go. We've got a little bit over. We need to do an Aird stream. I think it would be very, very cool. We've talked about it forever.
Yep.
But Chuck does got to get out of here 9 minutes ago.
Yeah. So good to see everybody. We'll be back tomorrow evening with Grace's stream. She'll be reading some more or doing something tomorrow night. I'm not sure what. And then I'll be back Friday if I don't forget. I was hard at it this past Friday, and completely forgot about it. I apologize. I'll be back on this Friday. I should be, So Hey,
make
we
it
appreciate
happen. I'll try.
every one of y'all so much for
Yeah,
hanging out.
thank you everybody for coming out, and we'll see you in the next stream, whenever that is.
All right, guys.
All
Have
right.
a good evening. Eric
Take it
for the
easy.
win. That's right. Trolls Eye.